One day after a close call between two jets in Nashville, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy called on Congress for more funding to modernize the air traffic control system. Now, the close call happened over the weekend involving two Southwest Airlines planes. Air traffic control had directed one jet to turn right on its approach. The second Southwest jet was taking off from a parallel runway heading directly toward that other plane. Now, preliminary data shows the planes were only separated by around 500 feet of altitude. Both planes did land safely after taking evasive action in response to the plane's collision avoidance system. I want to bring in CBS News senior transportation correspondent Kris van Cleave. He sat down with Secretary Duffy and talked about these modernization efforts and also Spirit Airlines. Kris, you asked the secretary about the use of AI with air traffic control. What did he say?
Well, before we get to the AI portion, the secretary was very focused on the $12 billion they have to spend right now on modernizing air traffic control. Things like replacing copper wire with fiber optics, upgrading radar and radios, in some cases building whole new air traffic control centers, as well as safety systems, things that allow controllers to monitor aircraft better on the ground, and replacing paper strips for tracking flights with a digital system. Now, those modernizations set the scene for sort of phase two, and that is this AI system, which he still needs Congress to pay for. Take a listen.
I think AI is a tool, but we do not replace humans in how we manage the airspace. The final say in anything we do is going to be an air traffic controller. I want the controllers. I'm just thinking, can we make their job a little easier? Can we give them additional tools to take some of the, it's one of the most stressful jobs in the country. Let's reduce some of their stress. Give them more tools to manage the airspace. Deconflict before, we have airplanes that are getting too close, and let them have a little bit of room to breathe.
So how would this AI system work, you may be wondering? Well, the idea is that it would look at all of the various airlines' schedules and the FAA system and sort of merge all of that together to spot, weeks in advance where choke points might be. When, could we move these 10 flights 5 or 10 minutes to take off a little earlier, a little later, and avoid a choke point at Chicago O'Hare 3 weeks in the future? I asked him, why aren't you doing that already? He said, we simply don't have the technology to do it yet. The idea is to use AI to get ahead of the curve so that controllers can then focus their time on dealing with things like emergencies, not sort of day-to-day juggling of capacity.
Now, Kris, you also talked about another big headline in the transportation space. Spirit Airlines already struggling before the jet fuel prices surged. Now Spirit is asking for a government bailout. What did Secretary Duffy have to say about Spirit's request for that?
Well, just about an hour before we sat down with the secretary, President Trump said in an interview he hopes that another airline will acquire Spirit, and if that doesn't happen, the government should at least consider a bailout. We asked the secretary how that might work.
No decision has been made, but they're real factors. Again, a lot of people work for Spirit. We care about the people that work for Spirit in this industry. But the question will be, can we do anything to save Spirit and make it viable? Or would we be putting good money into a company that inevitably is going to be liquidated? And that's a decision that we have to have our teams look at, and the president has to be briefed on, and we'll make a decision together.
He also acknowledged that if they take action with Spirit, what about other airlines that are struggling, especially with the high fuel costs? He did acknowledge who else will come knocking on our door, will then we enter a conversation about bailing out much of the airline industry? That's something else the DOT has to consider here, Liz.
Yeah, it could be a snowball effect. All right, Kris van Cleave, thanks so much. Great to see you.